On the 14th of June 2026, the music world woke up to a tragedy. One of the most creative souls in modern music, Oliver Tree, would be reported dead as a result of a Freak 2 helicopter crash. He was just 32 years old. But a lot of people didn't even believe he was dead. Many people, including me, thought that this must have been a prank. This is the exact kind of stunt that Oliver Tree would normally pull to go viral, and as many commenters pointed out, a lot of Oliver Tree's music videos actually included comical and tragic deaths of himself. I was one of those people thinking surely he's gonna pop out with a helicopter themed music video and just be trolling the whole world. But as the hours passed and various news articles began popping up reporting on the death, first in Portuguese, then in English, and soon images of the real life fatal crash and its aftermath began circulating online, it would be reported that not only Oliver had died, but another massively famous YouTuber from Argentina named Gaspi had also passed away, along with 4 other people, including film director Lucas A. Vignal and 3 others, which included 2 helicopter pilots. The news was real, and Oliver Tree was dead. From here, celebrities all over the world that knew and loved Oliver began sharing their grief online. He was one of the most creative and promising minds in the music and content worlds, and his death felt like a devastating loss for the culture as a whole. But not everyone knew Oliver or the full story, or just how much potential the world really lost when those 2 helicopters collided in the Brazilian sky that day. So in this video, we're going to take a look back at the brilliant life and career of Oliver Tree, and a closer look at exactly how he came to be speeding through the skies of Brazil in a 2 helicopter convoy, and how he lived a creative life that was so crazy nobody could even believe that he was really dead. Content warning. This video is about a sensitive topic involving loss of life. We've removed any graphic content to comply with YouTube's guidelines. We aim to provide informative, factual journalism on a tragic event in the public interest that does not dismiss its seriousness. All clips are used under the doctrine of fair use for news reporting and analysis. Some points made in this video are opinions and theories. I am not responsible for third-party information. If you want to watch my videos uncut and extended, go to patreon.com/traplawross, where you can get those for just $2. Also, you can now watch my new drops on Spotify, so go search me there. Here's the video. At first glance, Oliver Tree looks less like a serious musician and more like a living internet meme. However, beneath the colourful Montbell windbreaker, Jinko jeans, the kid's side speed shades, red flip-flops, white socks and sharp-edged bowl cut, there was a true artist with genuine creative depth. He became a superstar through years of musical experimentation that went beyond just music, creating an entire larger-than-life character that the music industry simply couldn't ignore. Because of all of this, Oliver Tree's myth, his persona, and his actual reality were tightly tangled together and sometimes hard to separate. But the reality was he was born Oliver Tree Nickel in June 1993 in Santa Cruz, California. According to Oliver, his grandparents met on an onion farm of all places.
Fire!
Life is like an onion, man. There's many layers to unravel. It's like, do you know about Shrek? He talks about it?
Yes.
Well, dude, my grandfather had an onion field.
Wait, don't.
Let me just explain this. So they actually met working on the onion field.
Now, Oliver often described his childhood as unconventional, which is arguably an insane understatement because I do not, both of his parents worked for San Francisco's Pickle Family Circus.
And both of your parents were trapeze artists.
Oh, no. My mom was, and my father was a ringleader at the circus.
Nice. Which circus?
The Del Pickle Family Circus.
Nice.
It was Northern California based.
While parts of the story sounded exaggerated, the traveling circus claims became another piece of Oliver's self-made mythology. And the music influences were there early too. In Icon magazine, Oliver claimed that he grew up traveling in a motorhome covered wall to wall with musical instruments. During those formative years, Oliver also claimed that that's when he found his iconic color-blocked ski jacket in his mother's closet.
Where'd you get that? What's the brand?
I took this from my mom's closet. This is something I would wear. When I was 8 or 9, I would go skiing with this thing, and she wasn't using it, so I said, "F it, I'm just gonna take this." And I think I'm getting a lot more use out of it.
It's a special.
Eventually, Oliver's family left the traveling lifestyle and settled permanently in Santa Cruz, California. But tragically, during these years, Oliver lost his cousin, a devastating event that he said pushed him towards drugs and made death a recurring theme in his music.
One thing that I notice in your music videos is this imagery of you falling to your death. Is there anywhere that comes from? Does that represent anything?
Something that I ponder, and to process the thoughts, and especially because I've lost people in my life when I was younger, and it was pretty heavy duty for me. That was always a big thing of like, well, what happens after life? And almost in a way, preparing myself for my own death.
By middle school, Oliver was already playing in a rock band, rapping, and DJing under the name Kryph, that's spelled K-R-Y-P-H. But meanwhile, videos would even show him as early as 2012 rapping and performing under that same name.
I run circles around your like a racetrack. You take that, but to me it don't matter. See, my mouth runs till it's dry like a battery. Battering, I keep my mindset level.
However, around this same time period, his drug use nearly cost him his life. Apparently during a family trip to Burning Man, Oliver said that he got separated from his family, took a large amount of LSD that was meant to be shared, with psychedelic effects that were amplified by the fact that he topped it off with some weed brownies. Soon after he took all these substances, he started hallucinating hard. He was imagining a bunch of reporters were closing in on him while he gave a speech. So in a tripped out panic, he tried to escape on a small bike before ditching it, stripping naked and running into the desert. According to Oliver, he hallucinated his own death, imagining his family mourning at his funeral.
I watched my entire life play out before my eyes as I ran. I started in my childhood. I was running and my dad kept saying,
You're fast like a cheetah.
that was the same thing he used to tell me every day when I was a kid racing bikes. As I continued to run, I watched myself turn into an old skeleton drug addict man who was left to die all alone.
And eventually, in this panic, he would hit the festival's perimeter fence, injuring himself in the process.
So I laid on the desert floor and smashed my head against the ground, trying to open it up, ripping my hair, trying to pull my brain out of my head. I stood up and I started running, but I couldn't see. So I literally hit the fence on the outside perimeter of Burning Man. My entire body was covered in cuts. It was a bloodbath. I even had cuts on my penis, but don't worry, they healed very well.
Then making his way back in before the police chased him, believing that he had actually snuck in. After this, he ended up running naked through a crowd of 70,000 festival goers. Now exhausted and freezing, he was finally helped by a woman who gave him water, food, and a cloak. Later, Oliver credited that random act of kindness with saving his life. However, when Oliver later told the story on Impulsive, Logan Paul claimed that Oliver had actually stolen his LSD story.
And then basically, bro, why are you looking like that? What, does this happen to you too? Hey, you and I might not be so different, my man.
Bro, you're telling my story.
That's not your story, but best, tell me what's up.
But Oliver had already been telling his own version of it since 2012. At the time, he called it the lowest point of his life, but he woke up feeling like he'd been given a second chance. After that near-death experience, Oliver shifted towards music production and dubstep. By 2011, Oliver had appeared on the Wobbleland San Francisco lineup alongside major dubstep artists like Skrillex and Nero. However, he quickly realized that the dubstep scene wasn't for him. After the Kryph era, Oliver rebranded under the name Tree and started focusing more on serious music.
I spent many years of my life with another project, and I tried to take myself so serious, and I was like, oh my God, like, why won't anyone take me serious as an artist? Like, this is so, like, mad at the world, you know, and trying this angle.
In 2013, he released his first EP, Demons, which touched on his past struggles with drug addiction, but even that version of his career ran into problems. Years later, Oliver revealed that label issues prevented him from releasing an album under his old deal.
I've been on other labels. I was in a really bad situation with the old deal that I couldn't release music, and I couldn't release music for like 4 years. So I don't know if your information found that out, but I was on a hiatus.
So by 2016, Oliver began trying to leave the past behind and start over. This time he used the name Oliver Tree, which came from his real first and middle name. Oliver's first major step under his own name came with a track called Forget It, a collaboration with his former high school classmate and close friend named Getter. While the bowl cut was already there, the full Turbo look wasn't. He didn't have his red glasses, ski jacket, Jinko, jeans, or scooter mythology yet, but that character Turbo would later be introduced on Vine, where it quickly started gaining attention. But the final piece of the Turbo character was his Razor scooter, and that mythology ended up being one of the easiest parts of his persona to pick apart. In 2020, a Facebook post captioned "The Birth of a Scooter God," Oliver shared a badly photoshopped childhood photo claiming that Christmas 2001 was when he got his first Razor scooter, with this kicking off a life of competitions, tricks, big air, and crashes. Later, he would claim that he signed a national sponsorship deal with the Junior Syndicate scooter team, adding that his professional riding career ended after he hit a pebble during a high-speed 20-foot roll-in, flying through the air and breaking both the wrists and his thumb joint, an injury that he claimed forced him to pivot towards music and later inspired his hit song Hurt.
The song Hurt is actually about a scooter crash I had when I was 18. I was in a semi-pro freestyle contest. I come in off this 20-foot roll in full speed going in. Out of nowhere, there's this little pebble. Front wheel hits it. I just go flying, both arms out, break my right wrist, break my left wrist. This thumb joint right here completely snapped off. Keep in mind, I couldn't feed myself or wipe my own for an entire summer. I'm just lucky I had a girlfriend that loved me.
While Oliver supported the crash story with a newspaper article and Facebook posts show that he did have an accident around the time, the article itself appeared to be copied word for word from a 2018 Santa Monica Daily Press report about a separate scooter accident involving a woman, with the wording changed from she to he. And while Oliver has done basic scooter tricks live, his biggest video stunts often use cuts, distant angles, and shots that hide his face. Most notably, he appeared in his video I Competed Against the #1 scooter rider in the world, featuring professional freestyle, scooter and BMX rider Ryan Williams.
Hey, I'm letting you ride on that note, honestly.
Move.
I don't want to.
No,
you're gonna
move out
sue
of
me,
the
dude.
way. No, I'm not gonna sue you, dude. I've hit double the size. Don't touch my. Don't.
No, go to scooter. Here. No.
What are you? Don't you?
Here.
No.
This is better.
I need my dude.
That's like $50 from Kmart.
I know, but I'm just not used to it, man. It's not gonna be the same. I can't do my varials the same way.
All right, man. Well, if you can make the jump, then we can settle it out in the game of scoot.
Yeah, we will.
No way.
However, by 2017, the joke started becoming serious after Oliver officially signed to Atlantic Records, kicking off his budding career with his hit track Welcome to LA. From here, his career went from strength to strength as he landed slots at the iconic festivals Coachella, Lollapalooza, and Outside Lands. And from here, he started getting attention all over the world for his intentionally bizarre fashion. By late 2017 and into 2018, those viral moments combined with his amazing music turned into real-life touring opportunities, landing dates opening for the likes of Louis the Child, Skizzy Mars, and even a planned slot on Little Dicky and DJ Mustard's Life Lessons tour. However, the Life Lessons tour was later postponed and ultimately cancelled because Lil Dicky said he needed to focus on his FX show, Dave, and finish his album. But ultimately, all of this built towards Oliver's breakthrough moment, the release of his debut album, Ugly is Beautiful, in which Oliver Tree eerily turned dying on camera into one of the most recognizable parts of his creative character, and in the process, making millions of people fall in love with him. By the back half of 2018, Oliver Tree had laid the groundwork for a life-changing debut album. He was quickly establishing himself as a one-of-a-kind artist and had turned himself into one of the strangest rising figures in alternative music. But underneath the ridiculous outfits and absurd interviews were genuinely moving and emotional songs, an unparalleled level of creativity and vision, all achieved through his self-directed visuals. His character really made people stop scrolling and pay attention, something which says a lot in this short attention span era, and it shows you just how much talent that Oliver really had. But nestled in his incredible creativity was a dark streak that perhaps foreshadowed his life being cut short, because as Oliver moved closer to his debut album, another theme started being a big part of his art: death. In December 2018, Oliver released the track Hurt, one of the first major singles from his Ugly is Beautiful album. The cover art and music video for the project featured various deadly scenarios, including an opening eerily reminiscent of the scene of his actual death, as aerial shots showed off a burning car, flames on the ground, and his singing corpse being wheeled away in a body bag. During the music video, he would claw his way out of a coffin and wander through a surreal wasteland. He'd also get his head blown clean off by an artillery tank, as well as leaping from a tall building, and the video ended with him being crucified on his signature Razor scooter while cruising around Ukraine. Oliver's creativity was a rare gem in the age of stale and recycled music concepts, but this wasn't a one-off. And from that point on, Oliver kept finding new and creative ways to die on camera. In a song titled The F Word, he took a chainsaw to a giant pillow shaped like his own head. Then in Miracle Man, he survived a brutal accident, surgery, and a piano falling from a window, only to get flattened by a speeding ambulance. At first, these deaths played out like cartoon violence, but the more Oliver used them, the more they started to feel like these deaths were actually an integral part of his character. Then in 2019, Oliver turned death into his entire rollout. In June, he announced the Goodbye Farewell Tour, framing it as his final tour and the end of his music career just as it begun. Kind of genius marketing, really. But at the time, Oliver claimed that he was quitting music and walking away to become a filmmaker, and to sell the idea, he asked his fans to make #OliverIsOver party a trend. Although fans knew Oliver's retirement and the album's death were part of an elaborate prank, the rollout later took on a much darker context, because just 2 days before the album's scheduled release, COVID-19 brought the whole world to a standstill. But instead of simply delaying the album, Oliver turned the delay into another fake retirement stunt. He announced the album had been completely cancelled, claimed he was officially retiring, and joked that maybe he would release it in like 5 to 10 years. He followed that up with releasing the track Let Me Down, calling it his final song and video ever, but once again, Oliver's final song was not really final. And about a month later, he returned with a staged Instagram video that pretended to show him being kidnapped. In the clip, a masked captor promised to reveal a new album date if fans flooded Oliver's album cover with comments. Fans hit the goal in around 10 minutes, and even reached a full million. But even with a release date, however, the album was still delayed. Then, amid the George Floyd protests, Oliver delayed the album once again, saying that bigger issues deserved the attention. Then finally, on July the 17th, 2020, Ugly is Beautiful arrived. After years of fake retirements, delays, cancellations, and death-themed stunts, the album actually delivered. It debuted well at number 14 on the Billboard 200, marking Oliver's first appearance on the chart. It also broke into the top 40 charts in countries like the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and Ireland, although critics were split, with Pitchfork hating the project and calling it dense, messy, and hard to digest. But by the following year, he was once again claiming that Ugly is Beautiful was really the end and that he was retiring for good. But true to his character, he unretired almost immediately. In February 2021, he announced the deluxe version, Ugly is Beautiful, Shorter, Thicker, and Uglier, and buried inside that deluxe was actually the biggest song of his entire career, Life Goes On, which was meant to be on the original version of his debut album, Ugly is Beautiful. That song went crazy, and today the YouTube music video sits at a staggering 470 million views, while the Spotify listing has a mind-blowing 708 million views. The song, which is eerie to listen to now after his tragic passing, sees Oliver singing all about how even after a heartbreak, life simply goes on and on and on, no matter how much the breakup feels like death. And the track would go on to be Oliver's biggest mainstream hit, landing at 71 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts and staying there for 5 weeks. The music video, which he directed by himself, featured him in his trademark bowl cut, neon glasses, and windbreaker. Seemingly filmed on a green screen, it would see Oliver cloned dozens of times with what seemed like an army of Oliver Trees singing the song in an array of interesting setups, all achieved with visual effects. This was an incredible example of just how multi-talented he was in both music and creative departments. But even at the peak of his success, Oliver still couldn't let go of the death imagery. In the end of the Life Goes On music video, a room full of Oliver Tree clones gather around the body of a dead Oliver, crying over him like a funeral. And that's what made the song feel even stranger in hindsight, because while Oliver's biggest hit was called Life Goes On, but the video ended with the character dying. Then, at the peak of the Windbreaker and Scooter era, Oliver did something that nobody expected and officially killed off his character Turbo. Then in February 2022, Oliver came back to release his second album, Cowboy Tears. He fully abandoned the Turbo look, swapping it out for a cowboy hat, a mullet, and a heartbroken alternative country persona. This time, Oliver leaned into the sadness, heartbreak, and exaggerated masculinity often found in country music, with him describing his new character as designed to show that it's okay for tough guys to cry.
The core message is that it's okay for the tough guys to cry, guys like us, tough cookies, you know?
Amen.
And, you know, that's something I think is important, because I think it is important for everybody to cry, and that's part of the message, but specifically guys like hold in their emotions and then they let it out in anger and aggression.
While the shift was risky, it still worked enough for Cowboy Tears to land at number 60 on the Billboard 200. The lead single was Cowboys Don't Cry, which came with another big budget and highly creative music video that showcased his new cowboy persona. And while this video didn't depict his death, it did showcase a giant cross at one point that gave a subtle graveyard vibe to the video. But Oliver also explained that death was a big part of the song's history itself in a genius annotation lifted from an Apple Music interview, where it claimed that he actually wrote the song for a partner of his that attempted to. But around the same period, Oliver kept on expanding through collaborations that would take his career even further. His biggest would come in 2022 when he linked with German DJ Robin Schulz for the track Miss You, a dance reworking of his original song Jerk. The YouTube video would end up surpassing 383 million views, and the Spotify listing has an insane 794 million spins. This track was Oliver's second biggest mainstream hit, landing at 84 on Billboard's Hot 100 and staying on the chart for 9 weeks. The video also gave Oliver another instantly recognizable look, with his pink and purple ski jacket appearing alongside his giant oversized grey suit. Then in January 2023, Oliver linked up with British YouTuber and rapper KSI for the song Voices. Together they made a vulnerable pop anthem about the painful aftermath of a breakup and the struggle to silence the thoughts of an ex. This single debuted at number 11 on the UK singles charts, becoming one of Oliver's strongest UK moments. And the music video, which Oliver directed, showed the two heartbroken over the same woman, turning a breakup song into another comedy of humiliation. That same internet world connection would also appear in Oliver's friendship with H3H3 Productions. The YouTube comedian seemed to take a liking to Oliver Tree, and over the years, Oliver became a recurring presence in the H3 universe, where his chaotic interviews and appearances and skits became fan favorites, with Ethan Klein seemingly blurring the line between real friendship.
You can enter now. Oliver Tree may enter the frame and speak to us, and protest as well.
Fake beef and performance art whenever Oliver Tree pulled up to the studio.
Just to set the record straight, I come from a long lineage of cowboys. My grandfather was a cowboy. His grandfather was a cowboy, and so on and so forth. So for you to call it a shtick, that's immediately offensive. But I grew up going to my grandparents' ranch. They have a cattle ranch. They have a horse and cattle ranch. So I grew up, they had cutting horses that they had sold to Joe Montana.
But underneath the trolling, there was clearly a real relationship between the two. And Oliver and Ethan really seemed like they had a genuine rapport and a shared sense of humor. But despite being a funny guy, Oliver's first passion was music, and he would never stop finding new ways to market his art. By 2023, Oliver was ready for another reinvention. After killing his Turbo character and becoming a cowboy, he returned with Alone in a Crowd, his third major label album. This era introduced a whole new character, Cornelius Cummings, a fashion world character with a bob haircut, pink suits, and an obsession with loneliness, fame, and identity.
Cornelius Cummings?
Yeah.
That's the latest character I've developed
Is
over the last...
it a character? Is that how you look at it? A character work?
Yeah, it is. Basically, Cornelius is a designer from Belgravia, London. Okay. Fashion Week. He was born. His parents,
No
designers.
one's from Belgravia.
Come on, man. You're ruining the whole thing for me.
No, I'm not ruining
Let
it.
me
I'm
have
just saying,
this.
like, Belgravia is not a place
is.
where people are raised.
And the album explored what it feels like to be surrounded by people and still feel completely alone. Even though it didn't perform like Ugly is Beautiful, it still charted, landing at number 143 on the Billboard 200. The era included songs like Bounce, One and Only, Essence, and Fairweather Friends, all pulling in tens of millions of views. But by this point, Oliver's career was no longer about one hit or one character, and every time people thought they really understood him, he would switch up the whole flow, change the costume, kill the character, and come back with completely unique music that proved there was really something special about this artist. So by the end of 2025, Oliver Tree was a serious musician hiding inside a joke, a creative director hiding inside a pop star, and a character whose strangest trick was making people care every time he came back to life. But sadly, his next on-screen death would be far from a trick or fiction. On April the 9th, 2026, Oliver Tree announced his fourth studio album, Love You Madly, Hate You Badly, which would be releasing later that month on the 24th. This all came at a very interesting time for Oliver Tree, as a tweet from him would circulate claiming that he had recorded this fourth album over 2 years while traveling across 82 different countries on all 7 continents, and that the cover had been a real photo taken in Afghanistan. It's a small silver lining to know that even though he died at 32, the year before his death, Oliver truly got to travel the world more than most people ever do. He would also mention that every song on the album was written and produced by him, showing that artistically Oliver was reaching his peak potential, blending diverse instruments and cultural influences from all these places he had visited around the world during this trip. But the most dramatic part of the tweet was the announcement that he had actually left Atlantic Records, which is something he'd also announced on Instagram early on April 1st. Although at the time, Oliver was claiming that because of him leaving, the new album was never coming out. But then, about a week later, he would make another post, true to his style, in a crazy outfit, this time dressed up as a member of the band Kiss, where he would announce that Atlantic had actually agreed to let him release the album through his own label, Alien Boy Records. Now, Alien Boy Records itself is an interesting piece of Oliver Tree lore, as he's been talking about this label for years, and sometimes jokingly mentioned that his fictional characters would be the ones signed to the label, something that made a lot of fans question if this was even a real label. But nevertheless, it was true. He'd gone independent, started his own label, and this album was released as promised on the 24th of April. But interestingly, none of the streaming services mentioned any label behind the release, not even his own, something that I've actually never seen before, and it just added to the ever-growing mystic and marketing skills that Oliver had been perfecting throughout his career to constantly keep everyone guessing. About a week and a half after the album's release, he would then announce that he was going on a world tour, which was referred to as the Love You Madly, Hate You Badly tour, or the world's first world tour. This was set to be a humongous tour that was scheduled to span all 7 continents, with a goal of doing 70 shows across 30 countries before the end of 2026.
Hi, my name's Oliver Tree, and I'm bringing my one-man band across all 7 continents for the first real worldwide tour. Get a ticket now and be a part of history.
The tour began on May the 30th, 2026, with a show in Mexico City.
Uno más.
That was followed by a second date in Santiago de Chile on the 2nd of June.
You guys are amazing, and I will come back many more times because I love you, Te amo! If you guys know the words, I want you to scream this. This last song is called Miss You.
His last date in South America was on the 6th of June in Sao Paulo, Brazil. But interestingly, the tour schedule would have almost a 1-month-long break, with the next scheduled show being all the way in July in Lisbon, Portugal. Unfortunately, Oliver wouldn't live to see the remainder of his tour as a result of that tragic helicopter crash. But clearly, he had remained in Brazil during his downtime for a reason, as it would be 8 days after his show in Sao Paulo that he would find himself traveling through the sky of Rio de Janeiro in a helicopter on June the 14th, 2026. Now, it would seem that Oliver spent the rest of his time in Brazil throwing himself into all kinds of creative projects, including weird but hilarious sketches that he was known for, and he would also be seen collaborating with local artists from Brazil like Lucas Vinicius, better known online as Lucas Inutilismo, a popular musician and content creator with over 5 million subscribers on YouTube. These collaborations would also lead to some great covers of Oliver's existing songs, such as his collaboration with Brazilian artists Gabriel Serrano and Dupe, which would produce a remix of Oliver and Robin Schulz's hit song Miss You, but done in the music style of forró, a popular musical genre in Brazil that's as much about dancing as it is about the music itself. The post was made on the 11th of June and tagged in Rio de Janeiro, showing that at this point Oliver had already arrived at the place where he would sadly meet his end. On the 13th of June, he would make his last post on Instagram, a funny sketch taking inspiration about Brazil's football obsession and the ongoing FIFA World Cup. The following day, on the 14th, Oliver would board a helicopter together with 3 of his friends, including Lucas Vignale, an Argentinian screenwriter and director known for more experimental style, just like Oliver, which would indicate why they were taking the helicopter ride for a project they were working on. There was also Gaspar Prim Diaz, better known as Gaspy, an Argentinian YouTuber with almost 3 million subscribers who shared the same passion and experimental style as Oliver and Lucas, as well as the Brazilian producer and DJ Lucas Brito Chavez, known professionally as Lucas Frota, who participated in making the forró remix of the Miss You song, a video that he shot from the studio session ending up being his last post on Instagram.
It could be anyone else out there. Don't fret. I don't ever want to see you, and I never want to miss you again. One thing. When you're angry, you're a jerk, and then you treat me like I'm worth nothing.
Flying in helicopters wasn't anything new for Oliver Tree either, as his social media shows this was a regular thing for him, including a post from May 19th where he used one to travel to a show with dubstep artist Subtronics. The same was also seemingly true with his friends, with Lucas Frota posting a video of himself in a helicopter in August 2025. But unfortunately, this time things would end up going horribly wrong. Shortly before 9 AM, their helicopter was flying over Recreio dos Bandeirantes, a neighborhood in the southwest zone of Rio de Janeiro, which is a relatively recent development drawing in middle classes that were trying to escape overcrowding in Rio itself. But at approximately 9 AM, Oliver's helicopter would collide midair with another helicopter carrying only its pilot, Charles Marcelac, who also happened to be an aspiring musician besides being a helicopter pilot. In one video shot by someone near the crash zone, one helicopter can be seen falling down at high speed. Another person would capture the actual crash, showing both copters plunging towards the ground. One witness would even claim that they actually saw somebody jumping from one of the helicopters as it fell, this likely being Oliver Tree's copter, while traffic cameras would also later provide multiple angles of the helicopter's final moments. To make things worse, both copters would fall into a residential area, with aerial footage from a helicopter seemingly showing both copters in the lot of a car dealership, reportedly specialized in the Chinese electric and hybrid car brand BYD. Soon after the crash, countless photos and videos emerged, showing that Helicopter 1, which was reportedly the one carrying Oliver and his friends, had hit an area where numerous electric vehicles were parked, igniting a massive fire that destroyed about 20 cars and triggered what sounded like explosions. By the time emergency crews were finally able to bring the massive blaze under control, all that was left behind were the charred shells of the cars. Locals would also post videos showing how far from the actual crash sites some of the huge pieces of the helicopter's debris had landed, together with some incredibly small items like someone's wallet. Pictures would later even circulate showing Oliver Tree's personal suitcase open on the ground, where you could heartbreakingly even see his signature multicolored windbreaker. Some of the residential buildings near the crash were also hit with debris.
Fala galera, beleza? Então, foi sim aqui na frente do prédio do meu irmão. Inclusive, acertou ali no apartamento de baixo.
News media would publish videos appearing to show emergency personnel recovering the victims from the crash site after the fire had been extinguished, as well as what appeared to be grieving family members at the site of the wreckage. Meanwhile, the other helicopter, which reportedly carried only the pilot, ended up seemingly causing much less destruction as it crashed on top of several cars but fortunately failed to ignite, unlike the massive blaze that followed the other helicopter's crash. With photos taken from the scene showing firemen and other emergency personnel attempting to reach inside the wreckage, likely to retrieve any occupants. But in the end, there would be no survivors left. All 6 people on board the 2 helicopters, including the 2 pilots and 4 passengers, had all lost their lives in the tragedy. One pilot, Alexandre Souza, another pilot, Charles Marcelac, and the 4 passengers, Oliver Tree, Lucas Vignale, Gaspar Prim, and Lucas Brito Chavez. Later on, reports would emerge alleging that the helicopter carrying Oliver and his friends had actually been operating as an illegal air taxi, as authorities allegedly found the aircraft had expired maintenance and flight logs that contained inconsistencies, meaning that it wasn't actually authorized to conduct any commercial passenger transport operations, which it seemingly was doing, as proven by footage appearing to show luggage on the ground near the wreckage. If those allegations really prove to be true, the helicopter's owner may be facing some very serious legal consequences in the near future. Meanwhile, following Oliver Tree's passing, as news of his death quickly spread across social media, tributes from friends and fellow artists began to pour in, with countless people who had worked with him expressing their shock and grief, including Ethan Klein from H3H3, who made a brief tribute on social media, followed by a heartfelt 4-hour-plus show entirely dedicated to Oliver's memory.
Our good friend of the show, a good friend to me and Hila, and a lot of you guys here, you keep connected with a lot of people, tragically passed away yesterday in a helicopter accident in Brazil.
Another collaborator mourning this tragic loss would be England's most famous YouTuber and Oliver's former collaborator, KSI, who shared a broken-hearted tribute reading, "Always a legend, still doesn't feel real, I genuinely feel sick. I love you, bro." The producer and DJ Robin Schultz, who made the mega hit Miss You with Oliver, would pay tribute to him on Instagram, remembering back to the time they worked together and paying condolences to Oliver's family. Jack veteran Steve-O, who has openly spoke about his own past struggles with substance abuse and mental health, would also pay tribute and thank Oliver for always being there for him. Comedian Whitney Cummings also paid tribute to her friend, describing Oliver Tree as the rare kind of person who, despite achieving remarkable talent and fame, never let success change who he was or inflate his ego. The singer T-Pain posted numerous videos of their time together doing podcasts and music.
How are you? All normal.
What's up? How you doing, man?
Doing good. How are you guys? Isn't it crazy that we're both DJs now?
It's pretty cool.
We're done with the singing thing, man.
I'm out of here.
You've been getting in shape.
No.
I'm making an album in hotel rooms. I got my computer, my microphone, and a little mini keyboard, and just making music by myself.
Sounds easy.
Kind of going back to what I wanted to do in high school, like making music for me instead of trying to be like, what do you think? And what do people want to hear? It's like, what do I want to hear?
Yeah.
And if it fails, it fails, but I have no pressure.
No outside influences. You do like it. You know what I mean?
Nice.
That's
freedom.
Happy.
Yeah.
That's what happy is. Don't want to do that.
Well, I'm excited to hear stuff, brother.
Even people like Jake Paul, who seemingly come from a completely different corner of the entertainment world, would post tributes to Oliver, as did the underground rapper Ski Mask, the Slump God. All these people were sadly just the tip of the iceberg, showing just how widely loved Oliver Tree was all across the entertainment world, with actors, comedians, influencers, streamers, YouTubers, and mainstream and underground artists all showing their love. Everyone had been affected by his kindness and never-ending passion for art. But sadly, not everything around his death would be positive, because soon after the news came out, a conspiracy theory would circulate on Reddit claiming that perhaps he had been killed by Atlantic Records in retaliation for taking his career independent. While ultimately that sounds like a whole bunch of nonsense, there was one strange detail that stood out, because only weeks before his death, whilst he was a guest on the Zach Sang show, Oliver decided to end the podcast by claiming that he had set up his will so that all of his money goes to charity for future artists while his family get nothing, before eerily highlighting how the value of artists always tends to go up after they die.
Furthermore, I don't believe that any of the wealth or the things that get made from it is mine. And so when I die, I've set it up, my will is set up that when I pass, my family, no one's gonna get a penny. If I have a wife, or kids or anything not getting up. I'll get my kids through college. That's the agreement, but they're not going to be a silver spoon. They're taken care of because my dad worked on some stuff in the 2000s. You know, like the idea is when I die, all the money's going to go back to artists. So I've set up a foundation. It's called Dr. Oliver Tree's Art Grants for Baby Geniuses. And it's set up so that basically the interest generated from my music will take mostly that, but there's also room for other money because when I die, my art will continue to have residuals and probably be worth more than it is now. People will finally appreciate my stupid videos and my stupid songs. That's when people appreciate you when you're not there anymore. Anyways, they might not. It doesn't even make a difference. But historically speaking, artists' worth go up after they die. So the art will continue to make money no matter what. Even the most like diabolical people, their music still makes money after.
For an artist who blurred the line between performance and reality better than almost anyone else, it's hard not to look back on a moment like this and wonder where the act ended and where the real Oliver begun. But regardless, all I know is that the world truly lost a real one. Rest in peace to Oliver Tree.